I cheated on my wife, and she left without saying a single word. Now I don't know how to get her back. I'm 35, my wife is 36, and yes, I fully realize what I did wrong. I understand everything. What we had was beautiful, something real. She is still the love of my life. We were together for 10 years, 2 years dating and 8 years married, and I destroyed it all with one terrible mistake. I cheated on her just once. One damn time. Somehow she found out, and I still don't know how, because from that moment on I never even got the chance to talk to her. Maybe she found something on my phone. I came home that day like usual, but something felt wrong. The house felt empty, dead silent, like life had been drained out of it. I quickly realized her things were gone. I panicked. I started calling her again and again, but the calls wouldn't even go through. Then I noticed papers on the table. Divorce papers. On top of them was a note that said, "This is what they do to cheaters." That was the last thing I ever received from her. That was 2 years ago. Of course, I contacted the number listed for her lawyer. He became the only bridge between us. But he made it very clear that he represented her interests and that she didn't want to see me or speak to me. I argued, I begged, I tried to convince him to pass along my words. But in the end, he simply told me I should get my own lawyer. I refused. I absolutely refused to accept that 10 years of my life could just end like this. I know I'm guilty, but I always wanted to fix everything. I truly believe that if she had given me a chance, I could have made her fall in love with me again, the same gentle and special woman I met more than 10 years ago. Couples survive things like this. Why couldn't we be one of them? Why, after 8 years of marriage, was I thrown away like trash over one mistake? I didn't deserve this level of coldness. I hadn't seen her or even heard her voice for 2 years. 2 years without the ability to see or talk to the person you love more than anyone else in the world feels like a cruel and inhuman punishment. This situation destroyed me emotionally, mentally, and even physically. I started drinking unhealthy amounts of alcohol. I barely ate for weeks. I couldn't sleep. I turned into a zombie, just existing on autopilot. I wanted to die, and the only thing keeping me alive was the hope that she would come back. My therapist says that situations without closure are the hardest because the brain refuses to accept that it's over. You keep waiting, thinking the person will knock on the door, or that you'll wake up and they'll be next to you again. The divorce was finalized more than a year ago, and I'll be honest, I didn't make it easy. I didn't want this divorce, and even now, I still don't understand how it actually happened. I begged my wife to go to couples therapy with me, but she refused. According to my lawyer, her own lawyer suggested at least a few sessions as well, but she still said no. The process dragged on for a long time, but in the end, the divorce went through anyway. The feeling is impossible to describe, like a part of me was ripped out and never given back. I know I hurt her. I know I let her down in a way words can't explain. But don't we all deserve a second chance? When the pain became unbearable, I finally started therapy. My therapist never gives advice on how to get her back. He only focuses on helping me move forward. He suggests meeting new people, going on dates, try to rebuild a life. But I don't want to. At this point, even intimacy doesn't interest me anymore. A few days ago, something happened that completely broke me. A friend of mine, let's call him Nick, was at my place. We were drinking beer together, and we were both pretty drunk. I started talking about my ex-wife again. He told me, "You need to put more effort into forgetting her. She's already moved on and is living her life happily. You should do the same. You can't spend your whole life drowning in self-pity." Something about the way he said it triggered me, but not in the way he expected. He spoke with such confidence, like he knew for a fact that my wife was happy and had completely forgotten about me. How could he know that? I got angry and started pushing him for answers. He refused to talk at first. I kept pressing him. I begged. I cried. I asked him to tell me anything at all. I needed to know something, anything about her. Eventually, he admitted the truth. His wife had been in contact with my ex-wife for almost a year. They were close friends. I remembered how Sabrina, Nick's wife, was devastated when she lost contact with her. That's when I found out everything. My ex-wife moved to Norway. She got married there, and she's now about 7 months pregnant. I felt like my heart stopped. I genuinely wanted to die when I heard that. How could she do this to me? How could it be that while I was drinking myself into oblivion, crying, missing her, and want to die every single day, she was happy on the other side of the world, married, having sex, pregnant with another man's child? How could it be that after all those years together, we never had a child, but with this new guy, she got pregnant so easily? I even started thinking maybe she was infertile, and now suddenly she isn't. Where did this man even come from? I have no answers, and I can't move on without them. The only thing my mind can come up with is that out of revenge, she slept with the first Norwegian man she met, got pregnant, and decided to keep the baby. Maybe she married him just to stay in the country legally. I don't know. In many countries, marriage helps with paperwork. These thoughts are driving me insane. I refuse to believe she's actually in love with him. I need to contact her to talk, to understand what's going on. She's acting like our 10 years together and 8 years of marriage meant absolutely nothing. I feel the anger boiling inside me. I want to go to where she lives and find her. But how? I don't know which city she's in. I don't have her number. She closed all her social media. Her family is small, they live in another country, and they all blocked me. I am completely lost. I don't know what to do. I still want her back, even pregnant. It feels like I'm trapped inside a nightmare, and I need to wake up immediately. After my post, I read almost all the comments, and when I say almost all, I really mean it. It was hard to digest the amount of hatred and nonsense people wrote about me. It felt like everyone forgot they were talking to a living person, not an object. I share my story hoping for at least a little empathy, but only 2 people actually showed any compassion, and their words genuinely helped me survive that day. I'm not looking for excuses. I don't want anyone to say I did the right thing. I know I didn't, and I live with that every single day. It seems like most of you have no idea what a broken heart really feels like, or how impossible it is to let go of someone you truly love. You don't choose who you love, and you don't decide when those feelings disappear. If anyone doubts my story, unfortunately, it's real. I wish it was fiction, but it isn't, and I have to live with this nightmare every day. Everyone keeps saying she's happy now, but none of you actually know that. I haven't seen her in 2 years. Pregnancy and marriage don't automatically mean happiness. We don't know the circumstances under which she got married. Maybe she was lonely in a foreign country with no one around and clung to the first person who showed her warmth. Of course, I blame myself. None of this would have happened if I had been a better man and a better husband. But I can't change the past. All I want is to fix what I broke. But how do you fix something when the other person doesn't even want to give you a chance? Many people wrote that she doesn't owe me a second chance. That was painful to read, but maybe they're right. I never openly blamed her for fertility issues. It was just a thought that crossed my mind. We both went to doctors, and both of us had normal test results. I never understood why we couldn't have a child together. Some of the comments accused me of being dangerous, even abusive. That's not true. I never raised my hand to her and never would. I'm not a monster. I know it's hard to feel sympathy for someone like me. I know I messed up badly. I know I caused her unimaginable pain. But that doesn't make me a narcissist or a psychopath. Some people said I never loved her because if I did, I wouldn't have cheated. That's unfair. You don't get to decide what love is for someone else. You can't look inside my head or my heart. Since the day she left, there hasn't been a single day I didn't regret what I did. That isn't indifference. That is love mixed with guilt. People are more complex than you think. Cheating doesn't automatically erase all feelings. I called a mistake. What should I call it? Taking responsibility means admitting you did something wrong. Yet people twisted my words as if I was trying to justify myself. I focused on my pain because I never got the chance to explain myself to her face. I lost everything in a single moment. I was just trying to be honest about how I feel. Then came another update. 2 days later, everything got even stranger. Some people from my real life recognized the story. Sabrina's sister is on this forum. She understood it was about me and told Sabrina. Sabrina got angry at Nick for revealing the information. Nick got angry at me for writing the post and forcing him to talk. And I was furious at both of them. 2 people who watched me suffer for 2 years and did absolutely nothing to help. They didn't care about my marriage, so why should I care about theirs? Sabrina could have given me my ex-wife's number long ago, but instead she chose to protect that friendship. That was it for me. I cut them both out of my life. As for my ex-wife, I convinced myself she couldn't just disappear completely. I created a fake Instagram account and followed some of her relatives. I searched for a long time, and eventually I noticed a name I'd seen before, a woman with an unusual name and a strange last name. I checked her profile, then another one connected to her. She was Norwegian. I kept scrolling through photos of landscapes, flowers, lakes, mountains until I saw it. A wedding photo. My ex-wife in a wedding dress, hugging a man. I translated the caption. The woman was congratulating her son on his marriage. There were more photos, dated a year ago. She married him a year ago. I couldn't understand how everything happened so fast. Then I saw another photo from February 2023. She left me in May 2022. Just 9 months later, she was already in a serious relationship, meeting his family. I know I shouldn't be angry, but I can't help it. For those imagining she married some perfect Norwegian model, no. He's tall, pale, long hair, slightly overweight, looks like a cartoon Viking. He's an engineer. I'm an engineer too. She always loved heavy metal music, something I never liked but tolerated. Maybe that's how they bonded. I don't know. Her pregnancy still destroys me. I've been checked. I'm not infertile, but the thought of her having another man's child is unbearable. I won't go to Norway. I won't try to contact her. I can't force her to talk to me. If this post somehow reaches her, just know that I still love you. You know how to find me. And if her new husband reads this, remember one thing. The only reason you're with her is because one massive idiot on the other side of the world ruined everything. Before we move on to the next story, I'd like to know what you think about this one. Personally, I can't support the author. Yes, I understand his pain. Yes, temptation happens, and many people fail when faced with it. But the marriage is over. Obsessing like this only destroys him further. And now, let's move on to the next story. Do you want us to exhume a member of our family? Then you won't be able to reach your farmland in the spring, and your reputation will be completely destroyed. My wife and I are both in our 40s. In May of 2024, my wife's sister, Sarah, married her longtime partner, Heath. They had been together for 8 years, and during that time, Heath became a real father to Sarah's daughter, Kate, who is 16 years old. Just a couple of weeks after the wedding, Heath officially adopted Kate. Heath was the kind of man you couldn't help but love. He was funny, genuine, and hardworking, always the first person to show up when someone needed help, and always the last one to leave because he would stay behind to clean up. He was the guy who always looked for an excuse to bring the family together, fire up the grill, and open a bottle of bourbon. The last time he did that was on his 50th birthday. Less than a month later, he suffered a massive heart attack and died. At his wedding, I stood beside him as his best man. 6 months later, in the same church, we carried his coffin. We are still completely devastated. Our family is extremely close. The husbands of my wife's sisters are my brothers. Her sisters are my sisters. And her parents consider us, their sons-in-law, to be their sons. We genuinely love spending time together. When Heath joined the family, he very quickly became its heart. No one ever expected that we would celebrate a wedding and then mourn the very same person less than half a year later. And I wouldn't wish that kind of pain on anyone. Heath was meticulous about many things in life, but the one thing he never had time to properly plan was where he would be buried. A few weeks before his death, he and my mother-in-law, Jackie, who was in her 70s, had a casual conversation about final wishes. No one thought it would matter so soon. Jackie said she wanted to be buried on the family plot, next to her grandparents and her parents. She explained that after she and my father-in-law, Mitch, who is also in his 70s, passed away, there would still be 2 to 4 free burial spots left, since most of her cousins had made other arrangements. Heath liked the idea of resting near them. In November of 2024, Heath was gone. There was no time to debate or delay. He passed away on a Saturday, and we buried him the following Friday. On Monday, Jackie received a call from one of her cousins, Berta, who is in her 60s, not to offer condolences, but to demand, "How could you bury that outsider next to our grandmother?" The conversation was mostly one-sided. Berta kept whining about how wrong it was for this man to be buried next to their grandmother. claiming she had already visited the town hall to see what could be done. Jackie's only response was, "Berta, he was my son. We just buried him. We didn't know what else to do." Mitch said that in his more than 45 years of marriage, he had never seen Jackie that angry. They decided not to tell Sarah yet. She didn't need that stress on top of her grief. A few days later, Jackie received another call from Charlotte, the wife of one of her cousins. Charlotte informed her that Berta and her sister had found a lawyer and planned to try to take Sarah to court to force her to exhume Heath and move him somewhere else. At that moment, Mitch and Jackie decided to visit Sarah and Kate to explain what was happening. Naturally, Sarah was furious, confused, and deeply offended. She owned the plot where Heath had been buried, as well as the neighboring plot, meaning legally everything was completely legitimate. But how could people who call themselves family behave like this? One of the last to learn about the situation was my wife. Not because it was hidden from her, but because everyone knew that if someone harmed her loved ones, she would enact a policy of complete bridge burning. So they needed her advice. Some context is needed for the next part of the story. Before her death, Jackie's grandparents had designated a 12-spot plot at the local cemetery for their children and grandchildren, which was quite foresight considering that Jackie's mother was one of 5 sisters. Of the 12 spots, only 5 had been used: Jackie's mother, her father, and 1 cousin. Each of the 5 sisters inherited a portion of the farmland and built homes nearby. Their children, Jackie's generation and Berta's, grew up next to each other, and some stayed, building homes nearby to raise their children. Jackie and her brother inherited part of their mother's land, which they leased for farming. Next to it is Berta's and her twin sister's land. Both plots share a common driveway, the only access to Berta's property. Incidentally, the road belongs to the state, but the driveway is entirely owned by Jackie and her brother. I won't go into the details of my wife's reaction, but by the end of the discussion, she suggested relocating Heath, as well as her grandmother and grandfather, creating a family cemetery elsewhere. If they want to fight, let them, my wife said. This was not an attempt to smooth things over, but a clear, calculated move. Our in-laws agreed. Legally, this meant that most of the remaining burial spots would become practically unusable. Moving Heath and Jackie's parents would free 3 plots. Sarah's plot was the 4th, Mitch and Jackie's 2 more, totaling 6 plots belonging to our family. This left only 3 spots out of the original 12 unclaimed. Meanwhile, another family member passed away and was buried there, leaving only 2 free spots out of 12. Even though 6 plots remained empty, they could not be used because they had legal owners. For many, that would have been enough. For my wife, a woman who believes burned bridges make for brilliant lighting, this was merely an appetizer before the main course that would take years to prepare. We had designated a portion of the family land to Rainter, Heath, and Jackie's parents in January of this year. It is a quiet place, surrounded by tall pines, with open fields nearby, a good location with plenty of room for those of us who wish to be buried there. The only problem was that the road to the new cemetery was quite long. According to my wife's assumption, when planting season began, Jackie and her brother would ask the farm tenants to plow the old road and create a new one closer to the cemetery. As mentioned before, this is the only access to Berta's land. We did not tell her about our plans, and we never will. The entire frontage of her plot is overgrown with trees. Hopefully, she will find out before the farmers begin planting. Despite her despicable behavior, I have omitted some parts because the text is already long. Berta is a highly respected medical educator in our community. Nearly every nurse knows her, and she was even my wife's teacher in college. But my wife is also well known and respected in the community, and she will ensure that Berta's behavior becomes known. It is a slow process, but like water wearing down stone, patience will win. It may take some time, but once it's done, people will never be able to forget what they learned about her. Forgiven, yes, but remembered. My wife left a comment under a post noting that Berta would have to prove malicious intent, and several people pointed out that this post could serve as such evidence. She asked me to replicate her comment here, where it would be more visible. To clarify, Berta would have to prove that my mother-in-law and uncle acted with malice. My intentions are clear, no doubt, but in this fight, I carry no legal responsibility. I simply suggested an idea, and then noted that it would serve as a strong response while simultaneously solving several problems. The final decisions remain with my mother-in-law and uncle, who own the property. My uncle consulted the town hall regarding the legality of the exhumation and spoke with lawyers about the legal aspects concerning the farmland. That is how we learned that we are obliged to ensure her access, which runs along the boundary of the property. And if she wishes to accuse me of slander, she would have to prove that anything I said is false. I have a feeling she will not resist too strongly, because now that we have started digging up skeletons, I know of several of her own, which she would rather not have exposed. The truth is out there, the pieces are in motion, and the family's quiet revenge is patiently taking shape, like water cutting through stone. Everyone involved will soon realize that once certain lines are crossed, nothing can undo what has been revealed, and the consequences will echo for years to come. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this story crazy or shocking, drop a comment below with your thoughts. I'd love to hear what you think. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more unbelievable storytime content.